right. Good evening, all. Good evening to Mark Edward Lewis, my guest for tonight. How are you doing tonight, Mark?
Good. Excellent.
Good. It was for all of you out there in streaming land. We set this to 10:15. You might say, why 10:15 tonight? Because I knew I was going to be running late. I've been on the road for about 4 hours. Four of the last 7 hours I've been driving. I had to drive our foster dog down to its new adopters and back. That was an hour each way. And then I had to go to Crystal's Christmas party. That was an hour each way. So I was like, man, I am not going to make it. I just know what's going to happen. I'm not going to make 10 o'clock. And here we are at 10:15. And it's like I rush in the door to the house, run the dogs outside because they've been alone for 5 hours. And we just made it. So what's really cool, Mark, is you are on the same coast as I am now.
Sort of, almost.
Yeah, same. Although aren't you Central Time?
Yeah, I'm Central, so it's 9:30.
That's crazy that Tennessee is.
You're muted, Alec. I think you're muted.
I don't know why it keeps.
Now you're muted.
Yeah, now I'm on.
Now you can say it all again. It's crazy that I'm on Tennessee and it's in Central Time. And then what happened?
Nothing. That's all. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. Let's see, we've got people on the Axanar channel, on the Axanar YouTube channel, on the Aries Studios YouTube channel, on the Axanar Facebook channel, all over. Thank you for joining us tonight. So Mark Edward Lewis has been with the Axanar project as long as almost anybody, except for John Muntreff, who started with me. You've been with me almost the longest.
Did Bing come on after me?
Bing came on after you. That's a good question. Bing came on. I don't know. It's close because I met Bing on the set of Renegades. He was DITing Renegades, and that was 2013. So yeah. I don't remember when you and I met outside Aroma Cafe with Richard. And was it Darren Doctorman?
Yeah, Darren Doctorman. I met a whole slew of folks. I mean, Richard was my friend then, so I had known Richard for years. But yeah, I met you. I met Darren. Little did I know the future that would hold with both Darren and you.
Indeed. It's because you worked with Darren Doctorman. Darren Doctorman, who's a concept artist in Hollywood, and has worked on many projects, and does a killer Gene Roddenberry impression.
Does he? I didn't know that.
Oh, he never did it? Really? You never heard his Gene Roddenberry?
Well, the thing is, I've worked with him a ton, but that's the only time, with one brief exception, that I've been in the same room with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we talked for hours on Skype and projects and holiest things.
Right, because he wasn't on. He wasn't in Mindsifter, and he wasn't in Torment of Destiny.
Nope.
Right. Yeah. So he had done the one before, Bread and Savagery, which will never be seen.
Sadly.
Yeah. One of many 3 or 4 wonderful New Voyages episodes that will never see the light of day.
Yeah.
Sadly, but no. Darren does a great Gene Roddenberry impression, and I remember the thing I remember about Darren is Darren and James Coley and I sat around a bonfire one night at James's place after shooting, and we discussed the pros and cons of the aesthetics of a cage laser. Or cage props, basically. And I was basically like, come on, guys. That's just like bad 50s sci-fi. It's, stuff was awful. And, thank God Hua Chang came in and redesigned everything and created legendary props. Because I don't think the cage laser was ever going to be a legendary prop. So
most people don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's awful. I know. It's just awful. Now, although one of the things I love about Discovery was the homage to the cage laser that they did in their phaser. I thought that was very well done. Very, very, very well done. By the way, I've been watching Discovery, and my puppy wants attention. Here's my puppy wants attention. Yeah, what? We got a ball in her mouth. Can I have some time before we play together? Yeah. Okay. Good. I've been watching season 3 of Discovery. I don't know if you're a fan or not.
I didn't get past season 1, so I got a bit of catching up.
Okay, that time the dog pulled the cord out of the microphone. Are you a fan of all of Discovery? Are you watching season 3 of Discovery?
I got through season 1, and that's as far as I've gotten. Kind of like, all right. Other things I can watch.
Season 2 is better. Season 2 is better. And no, we're not going to play that game. Where did you drop your ball? I'm going to have to get her out of here. Hold on. Yeah, good. Sorry, I'm locking the door on you. She
locked out.
Locked out. Take your ball. Go elsewhere. Season 2 is way better than season 1.
Well, that's good.
And it gets better during the course of the season. They go into the mirror universe. And then season 3, which I just started watching, is really good. It's legitimately good Star Trek. Which of course speaks to my axiom. One of my rules was the first 2 seasons always suck. So so that's it. So tell everyone what you well, first of all, let's go back and just tell everyone what you did on Prelude to Axanar, so everyone knows. Because I kind of take you for granted. It's like when people talk about, oh man, the sound in Prelude is so good. I said, well, that's all Mark Edward Lewis.
Well, it wasn't all
and Frank.
It wasn't all me. And Francois and Mike Boddicker stuck his head in more than once. So we had a wonderful
mixing session at Boddicker's place.
That was
epic
of the process. Watching Prelude get mixed on a 25-foot screen or whatever that is.
Oh, that was awesome. I have photos of that. Hold on. So
you're in Lexington, RB. Yeah, I'm just south of Nashville and just west of Columbia, so central. That's where I'm at.
And thank you for RB for the $2 super chat. We appreciate that. RB, who has the Artemis logo.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we worked on. I was working on Prelude before they were even shooting. I came in, I think, 2014. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, because we shot the we shot the Kickstarter video for Prelude in March. No, we shot that in February because the Kickstarter launched in March.
Yeah, we were in Avengers Station by the time the Kickstarter was going.
Were you?
Oh yeah, we were. Remember, we were in Nick's office, and you're like, "Wow, we've raised $100,000," and he's like,
"Oh, okay." Yeah, I just talked to Nick the other day. And sorry, as I get up and down, I'm trying to entertain the dog that has been locked up all day today, who is an active little puppy. So, I thought that was afterwards. I thought Avengers Station started in like August.
No, huh? I mean, it might have for you, but it was.
No, I had started with them in 2013.
Because we were in New York installing in June. Frank and I were.
So, oh wow! Okay, yeah. I finally put the last of that nightmare to rest. Everyone in the audience knows it seems like everyone had problems with the company that eventually took over. Victory Hill was an exhibition company, and they put on the Avengers Station exhibit show, which was the traveling, well, not so traveling, but the Marvel Avengers Museum show. And I was able to get Mark and his crew in there to do the sound for the show, which was. Well,
I ended up doing a lot more than that. I ended up actually, they gave me this budget to do the sound, and we had come up with 365 original sounds that were sometimes collected from the movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And you got access to all the sound from the movie.
All of
that was
movies.
Amazing. Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean,
that was Frank, right?
Yeah, Frank, because Frank had worked on Tron and Star Trek
and by
Motion
that
Picture.
time, Disney had taken over.
Yeah. And so Frank had this relationship with Disney. And I was like, Frank, we can't do this without the Disney sound library from at least Iron Man 1. So he goes, well, let me call. And so he calls them up. And apparently, now get this. There's only
tell
one.
everyone who Frank is.
Well, Frank Serafini
is a kind of a little legend.
He was a legend. Frank is credited with doing all the sound effects for Star Trek Motion Picture. It's not actually true, but he did quite a few of them. But he did a lot of the sound effects. And then, and if he were alive,
which was his first job. Which was like his first job.
He got like a page boy job at Paramount, and then heard that what's his name, Robert Wise was directing, and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to go over there." So he got his little synthesizer, and he made a cassette of all these sound effects that he thought would be cool, the Enterprise whooshing and all this. And he just walks into the dub stage where they're working on the show. And like back in those days, you could. And he goes, "Hey, Mr. Wise, check out this." And he listened to it, and he goes, "Get that kid over here." And he's in his 20s, and he developed and worked on the sound effects and all this. I mean, there were other people, of course. And then from there, it was Tron. And, he is the credited headliner.
Yeah.
And if you talk to Mike Boddicker about how that went down, he has a very, very different story on how Frank did the sounds in town and how he got that. But we do know for sure that the recognizer sound, and I knew this when I was a kid because I had the same synthesizer that Frank used to make the recognizer sound. It's literally a preset on this analog synthesizer called the Prophet 5, and it makes that sound, and you can move the little dials. And I'm like, this is the recognizer. And nobody believed me. They're like, no, it's not. Well, when I ended up working with Frank, I go, is that the recognizer sound? He goes, oh, yeah, that's totally what it was. That's all I used. And I'm like, it's great. So Frank and I became fast friends. And then Alec introduced me to Nick, and I ended up doing the sound for it. And of course, I brought Frank in, and Frank had this relationship with Disney naturally. So we got to get the Iron Man 1 sounds because we have to develop the sound effects, the soundscape for you flying the Iron Man suit with your brain. Literally I don't know what the exhibit does now, but when in the original designs and when it was originally released, you could put this thing on your forehead and it calibrates to your eyeballs, and you would fly the suit with your eyes and your brain. Literally, it was amazing. So we had to create all the sound effects for this. And I'm like,
broke in like a week.
What's that?
And it broke in like a week.
Oh,
like
did
everything was so everything was so brilliantly engineered, and none of it was for durability. It was like, well, press this button and it'll do that. Oh, cool. But press that button 20 times a day, 20 times an hour all day long, and it break. Yeah, they had so many problems with that, but it was kind
nobody had due diligence or thinking about it. So, I got to create all these sounds. And I go, Frank, we got to get this. We got to get the sound library. How do we get that? And he goes, well, let me make a call. And he comes back to me and goes, you're never going to believe this. I go, what? He goes, there's one hard drive, one in the world that the mix for Iron Man 1 is on. Now it's in an air-conditioned vault deep in Disney Studios, not Marvel. It's at Disney. And they have to go get it. And I don't think they're going to get. I mean, there's only one. There's not a backup. No, there's no backup. It's only this one drive. And the USB, you have to have a USB plugged into it to make the drive spin, or it won't spin. And the USB is over at Marvel.
Oh God.
So he was he could talk an Eskimo.
He could. Yeah, he could. Yeah,
he was so great. And he gets Disney to get him. He says, well, let me just borrow it for a day. And they're like, all right, Frank, you can borrow it. So he gets this PA to drive all over, and Marvel isn't near where Disney is in town in LA. So driving through traffic.
Marvel at that time, Marvel was over at Raleigh Studios in Manhattan Beach.
Yeah. So poor guy goes and drives and gets this hard drive. Next thing I know, Frank comes to me and he goes, "I got the drive," and we're in Valencia, which is an hour north of all of LA.
Right.
Like, really? The whole mix, every sound effect element.
I remember.
On one drive, we were like kids in a candy store.
Oh, I remember, because I remember you and your setup there, at Victory Hill, and you were just like, I've got everything.
Couldn't believe it. It's literally 1,500 tracks deep. I mean, this mix, we couldn't even pull it up. We didn't have the system to pull it up, but we had all the sounds. And so, so we plugged this in, and the first time we plug it in, nothing happens. We're like, no, why isn't this working? Did it break? And now we're freaking out. And
yeah, because it's the only one.
I'm like, did we break this? What happened? Did the PA break it or not? And Frank goes, oh, there's a USB somewhere. And he goes into his bag. He's doing this This USB is like this.
Oh God!
He's digging in his bag like this, and he pulls it and he goes, "Oh, try this." Like, you didn't keep it in the bag with our. No, I just plug it in. It spins up, and here's all of Iron Man, and we pull off the whole hard drive. Like,
right, and so that was in 2014. I mean, yeah, they'd only done Iron Man. I think 2, it was 2. Avengers, Captain America,
the various Hulks. Winter Soldier.
Had Avengers come out? Avengers had come out at that time, right?
Yeah, it was Avengers. It was Civil War was about to come out when we were delivering.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Because we were creating all the helicarrier stuff, and they're like, there's not going to be any helicarriers, so don't do that much. I'm like, what? And they're like, we can't tell you anymore. Just when Civil War comes out, there is the helicarrier in there. And the most amazing, I won't go into all this, so amazing what we created sound effect wise and how we created the floor to be a speaker and the walls were speakers. And when the helicarrier comes over, the whole place rumbles. Anyway, it's amazing. So, we get all these sounds and we're like, wow, here's every little mechanical move of the Iron Man 1 and 2, right? Suits. You know, the one from when he's captured in the Middle East and then the one where he drops it on the piano. Which is my least favorite part of that movie. And so we're like, well, what else can we get? And Frank's like, well, let me return this one and let me see what else we can get. I go, can we get Avengers? Can we get Hulk? Can we get Captain America? What else can we get? He goes, well, so day after day, Frank would deliver to us a hard drive with a USB from the Disney vault over here and the Marvel vault over this poor PA, whoever he was. And then we would get, here's Avengers. Copy everything.
Yeah, right.
Return it. Oh, what do we get today? Oh, here's Winter Soldier. Copy everything. So we had the bong, of Captain America shield and how it flies. I mean, there's a huge library of just shield sounds of it flying, banging. And then we have, of course, from the Avengers, the sound of Thor's hammer on the shield.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's basically a giant gong, a Chinese gong, slowed way down and hit with a metal mallet instead of a rubber one. It's ingenious, but it's good. And then we got Hulk, the latest one with the latest one. What's his name? The actor, the later version. Anyway, before Hulk got any good. So we got that whole library, and now we're like, we have terabytes of sounds that we're not supposed to have. Although we had the license through Victory Hill because we used it obviously in the production. But we're like, this is insane. And if anything had happened to the PA or to the drive or to Frank or anything else, there was no replacement as far as we knew. So they have since, I sent a note back finally to going, please copy these. Do not, and I think they have since copied them all. I hope so. So that was an incredible experience. And then Frank and I brought Frank in on Axanar, which we were in the middle of crowdfunding. So I actually you did the editing for the original Prelude pitch reel. And then
Kickstarter video. Yeah.
Yeah. And
under your
right.
guidance.
And then and that was fun. And then
that was a blast.
Before we even shot anything with Prelude, I was working on sound effects because Tobias had done these incredible visuals, which you've all seen, at all, but no one had seen them at the time I saw them. And I was like, these are incredible. So I decided, and Alec and Christian at the time were like, look, let's not just do simple 60s Star Trek. Let's really push the sound envelope. Let's do like a Marvel-esque sound treatment.
Oh, yeah.
Not in terms of style, but in terms of quality and depth, so that it was really, really rich. And I've got some of these. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to.
If I share my screen, can you hear what I play? That's the question.
Yes, you have to share the audio first, though. There's a button in the bottom left-hand corner when it pops up with the thing that says share audio.
So does it say share screen at the bottom of your screen?
It does. I've got that. I'm going to say share your entire screen. And then it says...
Lower left corner, it should say share audio.
Share audio. No, I guess I'm not sharing anymore.
You were sharing it. I just took it off the screen because it was doing infinite loop of.
Infinite loop. I didn't see. If I do this and I say application, this, and I say share. Of course, if I go off of this, then I can't see anything anymore. Audio. No, I don't see that. So maybe I can't do that. Anyway, I'll share. I don't need to. I'll just share my screen and show you what it was like.
This. Oh yeah.
Hold on a second. So I'm going to go share screen. So this is like, here's the Charon flyby, Charon, however you want to pronounce it. I mean, you won't be able to hear it, but you can see. Remember this shot, and it's cool. Sure. And this is what I saw, and I didn't see it. There was no audio, right? It was just this.
Right.
And you're like, okay, well, what are we going to do with this? Well, we ended up doing all of these sounds from a helicopter, a seacopter that we slowed down. We created the sound of a new version of the Bassard ram scoops, however you want to pronounce those. The Aries, we had the rock crack, which we used in a bunch of stuff, space noise, various whooshes. We had, as the thing goes by, different sections of the front of the nacelles as they go by, the back as it goes by, the front of the hull, the back of the hull. I mean, it was literally an orchestration of sound effects that were going through. And, in the olden days, they would just have, one sound that went whoosh. But like, here's the Klingon gunship. So here's the Geronimo, right? This is basically everything. Yeah. This is everything that you needed to do to recreate the Geronimo. Here's the Korolev, which is a little less dense. Here's the Aries, ironically, has very little because we used I think the Rio Grande Deep Space Nine shuttle, resynthesized it, and then added a whole bunch of other things to it, including the sound of an 18-wheeler going up the grapevine on the 5 and all this stuff. So we did all this work and nothing had been shot. So we were like, well, I hope this works out. I hope we raise enough money, because I had all these sound effects that we'd created. And this was before Frank came on. Once we got funded and we did the shoot, and now we've got all these ambiances to put in and all this. So I ended up being the post-production supervisor and kind of pushing, both Bing and I, pushing this project along, and Rob at the time. And we finally, I think we were really pushing for Comic-Con that year.
Yeah, we did, which we made.
Yeah, we made it. So that was kind of it for a while. That was it. And then now I'm back on as editor. The trailer, I basically did everything in the trailer. I guess there's a bunch of trailers now. The one with the alarm, I cut it. Actually, Bing colored it, but I cut it. I scored it, because we didn't have enough music.
The score was good. Yeah, the score was good. You did a really good job on the score. I was really happy.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, because we didn't have, from Alex's score, we didn't have really what we needed to get it into a very compressed time to hit everything we needed to hit. So, and plus we had set up that alarm going as a repeating function, so the music needed to have it. So it was only ever going to be original score. So yeah, so that is that. And now I'm the editor, post-production supervisor. I'm going to be the senior sound designer, developer, and we're going to have other people help us, because once we get into it, it's going to be a lot more work than I'm going to be able to do all by myself. So, well, there's no sound in space. That's true. But unless you want to do 2001, which is so boring.
Oh my God. Yeah. We
got to have sound. It just, that's it. That's the deal.
Yeah. And that's true. Yes. There's no sound in space, but what we're doing is we're doing entertainment. We're doing science fiction entertainment, and no one wants to see a space battle without sound.
Nobody wants to see even a ship go by without sound.
Yeah,
there's no music in space either, by the way, and we put music.
Yeah. In. Yes, exactly. Come here. My dog is such a. Yeah. This is what's called a This is what's called a miniature pincher, a min pin, a miniature. I just call her mini GSD, miniature German Shepherd. Okay, are you going to be good? Yep. She just lost her best buddy. The foster dog we had was her best buddy, so she's a little. What? Where's your ball? Okay. Go get it. Yep. I was going to show, if I can pull it up, show the trailer, and then we could talk a little bit about the trailer. You could kind of tell everyone, let's see. Everything got wiped out on this computer. All right. Let me just pull the trailer up.
Exactly, Jim.
We'll watch.
Then it was.
We will watch the trailer together, and then we can talk about it. All right, here we go. Let me share the screen. While we watch that, I'm going to go downstairs and lock my doggy out. All right, so we got it. Share screen, home tab, gathering storm, share audio. Right, we're going to make it full screen here. I'm going to make it full screen here. And
sometimes you look outside and you
Alec,
see
come back.
And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You're just a witness to whatever's coming your way. But it's never the heart of the storm that matters.
And that ended that.
I'm fixing it on my end. I'm sharing it from my.
Thank you. Thank God. Yeah, that was getting a little annoying. Not that the audio on this thing is all that great anyway. I mean, in terms of streaming, but at least we can see it.
Ultimate expression of the Klingon warship. Technologically superior to anything in the quadrant.
This isn't the right trailer, but it is a nice one. I didn't work on that one. We basically took the footage from October, the October shoot we had, 2019, and that's
Gathering Storm one?
Yep, that's the one. Didn't work, Alec. Your screen shrunk back down to nothing, so we're restarting.
So you want to restart it?
Let's go back to ones, everyone, and let's just take two.
There you go. This is better.
Sometimes you look outside and you see a storm coming. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You're just a witness to whatever's coming your way. But it's never the heart of the storm that matters. It's the heart of the people inside the storm.
Weapons free! Fire at will!
There you go. So,
yeah. I had a lot of fun taking the Star Trek theme, Alex's theme, and the Jerry Goldsmith Klingon theme, and putting them all together. And that was it. Was
and I thought you did. Let me close the door since I locked my dog up. So yeah, I thought that was really good. I thought you did a good job on the music. I really did, especially because it just fits into all the other Axanar music too.
Yeah, I took what Alex had done, which I've heard a lot of, and I'm like, let's use that palette, his orchestration, and kind of do that kind of thing. Yeah, so it turned out.
Let me just check some of the comments, see if we have any comments. Well, when an energy wave gets to your starship, there should be another whoosh sound that you'll hear, maybe with a bang to boot. Okay, you can have those conversations. Oh, by the way, there's Reach Films is Jeff Fagan, our DP. We want to thank for all his wonderful work on doing.
Yeah.
Sage advice and broaches he tolerates no bullshit in his film. If it's on film, I say on film, he's like, I like it or I don't like it. If he doesn't like it, he tells you, no, I don't like that. So, which is always good to hear, because the last thing you want is someone's like, yeah, that's great. All right, really, I don't tell me what you really think. So there you go. All right. Yeah, unfortunately, some of the problems we have is just my bad. The internet at this house still goes in and out, even though we have pretty good internet. We had, because we're in the middle of nowhere here in Georgia, we moved out into the boondocks. We have a cell phone internet router, so it's using the 5G signal from T-Mobile, which is good. We get like 100 down and 20 up.
Wow.
Yeah, for a cell phone signal, right? It's crazy. But it'll fade, just because of the cell phone signal, it'll drop out and pop back in. And
yeah, that tower will only put out whatever its max bandwidth is. And if you've got 100 people doing the same thing, someone's going to suffer.
Yes. Drab, how are you? Just reading some of your comments. Thanks everyone for showing up. We appreciate it. Let's see, most of the regulars are here. Sean Lane, you say, Alec, everything you have done so far.
Amazing.
Maybe you're saying thanks for everything. Hey, and listen, one of the things I tell people, because it keeps coming up, someone will say, Alec, you did such a great job on Prelude or whatever. And I always say, it ain't just me. Yeah, you really, I think just because I'm the face of Axanar, I often get the kudos, but I'm always quick to say, there is a great team behind Axanar. And, even the guys who are no longer on the project, who, shall we say, just become dicks, I still give them credit for what they do. I mean, there are some things Christian did very well on Prelude to Axanar. Rob did a magnificent job editing it. I think, they deserve credit for it, as is everyone who worked on it. I mean, you and Bing and Alex Bornstein did the wonderful, wonderful score. We had so many great people contributing, as well as the actors, who were all just magnificent. Really, really, really magnificent. So, filmmaking really is a collaborative process, and the collaborative process is really what makes it so much fun. Getting to work.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just you doing it all by yourself, I know like Tommy Kraft, who did Horizon basically all by himself outside of the actors. I mean that's an amazing job.
And he sewed the costumes. He did everything.
Oh, I know. He did everything. It was just great. I mean, it shows his range and how. But he missed out on so much by not having great collaborators to work with, to lean on, I think that's really important. And certainly when you're producing, like, as I do, having great people that you trust, like you, Mark, or Bing, it's so important. I was telling someone the other day, we were talking just about certain people that have worked on the project, and I said, the thing with guys like Mark and Bing is I don't worry about the quality of the output. It's like I say, if we agree that they're going to do X, I know X is going to be awesome. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to micromanage. I don't even have to manage them. It's like you just wind you up and I set you off and you go do your thing, and you know that the product coming back is great. But it also...
You're muted again, Alec. Or something. And then there was no audio.
Check the mic itself, Alec.
It's pretty rough when the audio dude's on the show and Alec's audio goes out. That is rough indeed.
Okay, so that's showing that your mic is muted on StreamYard now.
Yeah. And now it isn't.
Now, yeah. For some reason, that's a new technical issue. I keep getting this little pink message box that says your connection to your mic has failed. Really? Why the hell? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I think it's really important that I wish I had the magic sauce where someone comes onto the project and I could figure out right away if they're a high performer or if they're if they're a good talker. I think we've had a problem with a lot of good talkers.
Well, it's the nature of Hollywood. Everybody does their BSing. I mean, I've done my BSing. How do you think I got on? I mean, you gave me the good word on Avengers Station, but I'd never done a 10,000 square foot installation. I ended up overseeing the visual effects on that show because their visual effects company died and stole all their money. And
yeah, I remember that.
I ended up having to interface with Marvel and oversee the team that recreated literally the two highest grossing digital characters of all time. I mean, Gollum notwithstanding, but Hulk and Iron Man, we had to recreate those things, and Hulk at 9 feet tall, that kind of detail and all his animation and everything else. I mean, talk about tense. But they came to me and they're like, "Can you do this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but the difference is you delivered. The difference is, you actually can do the work. It's one thing, it's one thing to talk and be able to deliver. It's another thing to talk and not be able to deliver, which seems to be a recurring problem with people that unfortunately we have. And as I was saying, I wish I had the magic sauce to say, "Oh, I figured it out how to know when some person is just a good talker and really can't deliver." But I haven't. I don't think I have when you have people like you and Bing, I feel like, yeah, I get good people on this, but then you have other people who are like, "Oh, I don't ask me why I put my..."
Well, it's the same. It's the same anywhere. That's one of the reasons why in film we find people that we like to work with, who we know deliver, who know what our vibe is, and we keep them around if we can.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same in the investment world where you're like, here's people that I know they know what they're doing. I know I can trust them. Here's people that aren't going to throw me under the bus. Here's people that we can have in our group to help us make more money or whatever it is. The rest, because 90% of people are like, "Hey, I can do this," and you're like, you don't really do it. You just say that you do. I've seen your track record in Hollywood, investments, whatever. And you're like, that you're either a liar or just the bullshit's a little too stinky.
Or too diluted. You're just diluted. Yeah. You're just deluded about your own capabilities. I think, and that's it's really important.
Well, I think one of the things, Alec, and you've said this before, where you're like, with Christian, I mean, he had some credits, but they were predominantly amazing comic credits. And Rob, had some great editing credits. He was probably, of the three that you've had involved, the one that has the most credits by far. Probably more credits than all three of the other directors, well, the other two combined. And then, so it's like, well, let's take a look, like what Reach Films is saying, let's look at their work. Let's see if we like it. We know they can do it. All right, let's do that. So reels.
It's almost like I wish I could work with a person for a year before I worked with a person for a year. Yeah. I wish I could know, really, are they really going to finish what they say they're going to finish?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just or are they just...
We can also hear you. And then This is why they got rid of silent films, because they were just so boring. Even with the dude there playing the piano and the organ stuff, you know, they're like, and the little titles come up. Like what we need now for Alec is like little closed captioning so we can keep talking and we see the thing. But it's still so boring.
I know.
He needs to get really good at pantomime is what we need. We need to put him in a pantomime class.
Yeah, or he can have one of these things and just write on the thing and then erase and then write. Yeah, pull the thing.
Can you hear me now?
How about now? Yes.
Yes, you can hear me now.
That's Reservoir Dogs. Can you hear me now?
Oh God, I almost watched that last night.
Wow.
Yeah. I hate to admit it's one of the films I've never seen.
Whoa.
I know. You know, it's one of those. It's like, wow, yeah. You know, there's just some movies that I've just never seen, and that's one of them. I don't even know why.
That's a classic. That's a classic. I mean, I hung out with Mike Madsen for several years, and if you ever meet him, you become friends with Mike Madsen by having tequila.
Yeah.
He won't drink anything else. Say, hey, would you like some tequila? Yeah, sure. All right.
He just did the Batman fan film, the new Batman film from the guys who did Bat Under the Sun or Bat something. Yeah. So my friend, who plays Batman in that.
Yeah. How do you do a decompression sound? Like decompression, like when somebody's getting spaced decompression? Because that's sort of hard to recreate. But if you were to do that, you basically take the elements like you would do any sound. You take the elements that you know you can create. A lot of wind, clothing, you know, if there's somebody's in there getting spaced, their clothing's going to be, you know, flapping. And then of course, whatever giant, usually some kind of railroad coupling sounds. Railroad coupling sounds are like it's like duct tape. It holds the world together. Anything railroad, because it's so big, or shipyard is another one where just giant things are coming together. And then you put that in there, and suction cup sounds, some clunky sounds, and then the rustling, you know, and somebody breathing. And if there's anybody doing lines in there while the oxygen's coming down, then you roll off the high frequencies, because, you know, when there's no oxygen, the high frequencies don't work as well. That's what we've come to believe in cinematic Hollywood. It's not really true, but that's how we think it's supposed to go. And you just keep layering and layering and layering. A whole beach. Well, first of all, we need to have seagulls, and then some surf for that whole beach. And maybe, you know, some people laughing while they're playing their, breach. Hull breach depends on the ship, depends on the kind of breach, because if you have like a little, you know, micron breach, it's like you have this little sound there, and you would do that. You could probably record your own kind of little sound there. But if it's a big, you know, the hull goes away, you're back to railroad sounds and shipyard sounds. Explosive decompression would be, you would just add some, you know, bangs, metal bangs, and maybe some groaning of the metal that would happen very fast as it was just kind of falling away. Again, air, all kinds of giant wind, and maybe even some very slowly reversed, highly reverberated explosions, again, coming backwards, because you get and use the middle of it where you have this big kind of sound before it, you know, turns into nothing or gets too loud. There's 8 million ways of doing it. And when you discover the way you like to do it, that becomes your style. And then people start going, oh, that thing that Mark does that makes the Axanar ship sound very, you know, they're like alive. How does he do that? Well, that's the secret sauce. And then when you figure out how to do that, that becomes your secret sauce. Now I can explain it to you what I did with, and I have tons of videos on the Cinema Sound channel, how I did the Axanar layers upon layers, and you'll still see it and go, yeah, but how did you know to do that? This experience. And then you know, I've been trained by some really, really smart people. I like to say that I see very far standing tall on the shoulders of the giants who went before me. So, yep, layers. Never, ever do a sound effect with one track. Never. Always have layers and layers. And there's a thing called magic attack.
I think we just lost Alec.
And then he's gone. He's gone altogether now. Oh, he's back. And so there's a thing called magic attack, where if you were to make like a hull breach, and somebody would say, oh, I'm just going to make an explosion with wind. Well, that'll work. But if you really want to make an interesting Hollywood side kind of feel, then you would actually take maybe the sound of a howitzer and the sound of a 9mm Beretta, and maybe the sound of a septic tank being dropped on concrete, something like this, or crushed, like a truck. If you've ever backed over, hopefully you haven't, but if you've backed over a septic tank with a truck when it's underground, it makes this amazing noise, just like crushes and the truck goes down. Everyone's like, what the hell? So don't do that, by the way. But it makes a great sound. So you layer all those together for the first few milliseconds of the sound. So it's a sound that has no relation to a hull breach at all. But for the first few milliseconds, it's this incredible whack. And then you instantly crossfade it into the rest of the hull breach. And you have a sound that doesn't exist in real life, but has so much Hollywood je ne sais quoi. And you're just like, whoa, that's an incredible hull breach. Yeah, I just added a bunch of junk that has nothing to do with it for the first few milliseconds or frame even. And then the rest of it's the usual. That's wow. The great example of that is in Raiders of the Lost Ark with the great wing fight, where the wing plane is
flying wing, yeah.
Flying wing. And they're fighting. You just think in your mind about the sound of those punches, where the guys hitting. They're not even punches. There's nothing punch-oriented about the beginning of those sounds. They're actually gunshots. I don't remember the kind of gun, but they're gunshots that they used. They dropped huge chunks of meat on the cement and went, right? And so the beginning, they would chop in tape. This was tape land with razors and blocks. They would chop in a bunch of those things and then use tape and then chop and then use the rest of the punch sound to decay. But the beginning of it was this whack, where you're like, ooh, that must have hurt. So that's how we call it magic attack. So it's something for you to start looking at if you want to start making really potent, powerful things, but still have the feeling of what was there afterward. Have the normal decay, but a really awesome attack.
Damn. I didn't know all that went into it.
Juice. Well, we talk about it in the commentary. Frank wanted to do that with the phasers, the orbital bombardment phasers.
Right.
And then he wanted to do that with all the phasers. And he wanted to use shotgun sounds, like 12 gauge, pump action 12 gauge. And I'm like, this is sort of canonic. I don't know that we want to be doing that to phasers. And I'll never do phasers again without putting a at the front of it.
Really?
Otherwise, it's kind of a sound instead of a ping. And nobody's ever caught us doing.
Wow, that's interesting.
So if you watch Axanar Prelude again, or the trailer, watch the trailer on a good audio system, and you'll hear happening on all the beginning of it's subtle, all right. It's not like, in your face, but it's subtle enough to give the those phasers an attack. We do it in choirs. Most of you don't realize that real professional choirs, when they sing the Hallelujah chorus, they're not singing Hallelujah. About 3/4 of the choir is singing that, and 1/4 of the choir, one on every part, is singing Da-Alleluia. Da-Alleluia, because there's an attack.
Oh,
otherwise, it's Hallelujah, but with Hallelujah.
Wow, interesting.
3/4. A good choir, a bad choir, they always go. Sounds silly, but you put the attack on it, and the da is just muted enough, and there's only 1/4 of them doing it that you don't really hear it, but you feel that. So little techniques, magic attack.
Wow, interesting. And now tell everyone about Cinema Sound.
Cinema Sound is the world's only fully comprehensive audio education for multimedia. So you want to learn anything about how to do what I just talked about. We talk about all of it and even more. How to do sound for picture. And now we're also about to release a whole podcasting education. It's 90+ hours now. Record, edit, fix, effects, music, mix, and then inspiration, and then a workspace, how to set up your workspace to get great sounding audio. Hundreds of articles, now maybe 1,000 videos, and then the education separately. We've got almost 13,000 people on the YouTube channel, and now we're crossing 5,000 on the Instagram page. We're growing like crazy. Just come by and visit. There's so much free content. And the videos on how we did all the Axanar stuff. Excuse me. So that's my day job. I'm sorry, my night job now. It used to be my day job. Now it's my night job. My day job now is completely has nothing to do with anything in
It's
video.
high finance.
Yeah, it's high finance.
How's that going?
It's going pretty good. You know, it was a little dicey there in October, November, that's for sure. But now we're back, and it's, you know, as long as the Electoral College does what theoretically they've done for the last, since, what is it, 1862 was the last time they got turned down. But since then, the Electoral College has been doing what they're supposed to be doing. So on Monday, we'll see how that goes. If it goes as they say they're going to do it, then everything will keep going. If it doesn't, we will see a gigantic rock in the market crash. That's my prediction. I'm not, you know, I'm not your financial advisor, so I'm not telling you what's going to happen. This is just thinking out loud. Thinking out loud.
Well, good. Well, the Supreme Court did what they were supposed to do. So, and rejected the Texas lawsuits. So I think we're on a glide.
Yeah, I would say it's I give it an 80% chance we're going to have a 46 this year or next, I should say. And if that 20% chance doesn't, then I give us 1 chance in 5 of society continuing on as it is. I give us 4 chances in 5 that it's going to go down the tubes real fast. So
yeah, well, you got Rush Limbaugh, you know, lobbying for success for red states to secede from the union.
Well, that's never going to happen. We saw how that went last time. So
I'm all in favor of it now. I'm not sure, you know, it basically divide the country into 2 with a big red stripe down the middle, you know, so you'd be flying over your, you know, to get to the other side of your country. But I'm all in favor of it.
It's not actually possible because the nature of the states, the sovereign states, is that they're all party to the debt. And unless somebody here wants to come up with, oh, we just added $6 trillion to it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Those states would like to pay that off. Then they can compete. But since nobody, I don't think, has that kind of capital laying around, no state or group of states does, then we're not going to be doing that.
Yeah, you basically, the red states have become like a third world country all of a sudden.
Well, I live in one of those, so
do I. Georgia's kind of purple right now, but it has been red for years. So
yeah, I can't care less about politics. I just, they're the game that we shouldn't be playing because it's not you against me, it's us against them. And when I talk to my clients about, hey, let's trade the markets so that we can get 1% of our accounts every day. That's what I'm trying to do, whether it's cryptocurrencies or options. Those are the 2 things I do mostly. We're trying to get 1% of our account every day. And, you know, they want to jump into, oh, well, Trump's better, or who knows what's going on. And then, you know, I'm like, who cares?
It doesn't matter. In your business, it doesn't matter. What matters is getting that 1%.
These people have been taking our power for the last 100 years. It doesn't matter who the people are, red, blue, it's irrelevant. That's a game that they want us to play so that we can stay down instead of us being in the markets, taking their money from us. I mean, taking our money back, because the markets are designed to take your money. And if you're in there going, I'm going to make $1 million, not if you don't have somebody telling you how to do it, or you have a group of people, because the markets are designed to make you confused. And if you're watching the news for your financial advice, I got news for you. That news is funded by the people that have been taking your money for 100 years. So right now, crypto has done a dip. And I posted on my Facebook page, whatever day it was that the real big dip in Bitcoin happened. It happened at 10:15 Eastern time. And at 10:10, CNN came on with their financial advisor and says cryptocurrency is going to be the place where everybody's going to be putting their money.
Oh, man, really?
And now all the big corporations are putting their money. 5 minutes later, crypto dropped.
Wow.
And it was on high volume, people putting money in, and they dropped it anyway. So if you're watching the news and expecting to get good advice, it is good advice as long as you use this formula. News times -1. That's the formula. They're like, it's just going to keep going. Sell. Oh, it's the worst thing we've ever seen. Buy. I'm not telling you what to do. This is what I do. This is my bias. Now, obviously, I use more complicated things than that. Right. But, if they want to keep you stirred up. And it's the same with politics. The more politics we hear, the more we better be grabbing onto each other. The less politics we hear, that's when we need to start working the government. So right now, it's so political. That's when we need to be holding hands together going, we're all we got.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't a political conversation. I'm just trying to say, for me, and my head's to the ground, ears to the ground, heads to whatever that is, bald, ears to the ground, looking at the markets every day and seeing the sentiment of how big business is going. And all we're seeing is the erosion of little business so that the big businesses, the stock market's hitting insanity highs right now. Insanity. Right. And the little businesses are falling off, going away. California, New York is closed back to purple again. New York's going to purple on Monday, probably. What are we doing here? We're closing down the little guy and keeping the big guys higher. So I'm like, trade the markets, do your thing, get your 1% every day if you can. Find out how to do it if you don't know how. You can do it on $2,500 or more, really. Crypto, even less. But just get into understanding, because my feeling is in the next couple of years, that may be the only place that there's money that we can grab and take. The rest of it's going to be handed to us, or it's going to be so taxed, or it's going to be at, I don't know. It doesn't look great. And the president is irrelevant. It's just kind of what's happening and COVID, and is the economy going to come back? I don't know, but I can trade. And they will never turn the markets off. No. In Rome, when it was burning, they were still selling cattle in the streets to the market. They will never turn that off. They will never turn the internet off, because they need the internet to trade the markets now. And it's an amazing thing. There's, when you're just looking at your screen and you make your $1,000 for the day, there's no racism. There's nobody there going, but you're black, or you're white, or you're a Republican, or you're old, or young, or male, or female, or a Christian, or whatever. They're just like, all right, there it is. And nobody, it's the most amazing place to make money, because there's no isms, racism, ageism, sexism, creedism, none of it. They don't even care that you like Star Trek. So they're just like, did I get your money? No? Maybe I'll get it the next time. Here you go. And they have to give it to you. Yeah. So that's the place, I think, where if I had it all my way, I'm trying to train everybody that I can to go, let's learn how to do this. Because if we could make 1% a day and teach everybody how to do it, it would change this whole place. No politics. Have religion if you want it. That's great. But that's not going to transform this country. Getting our power back. That's how we do it. How do we do it?
How have you done over the last 6 months?
6 months in crypto, I think that number now is 150%. And then in options, October, November were rough. So I'm up about 30% in the last 6. No, it should have been 60, but yeah. So I'm up. It's up. It's green. You can't, what do they say? You can't go broke taking profits. So, and by the way, for those of you who trade, and I don't know who does, probably I may be the only one here, but take profits. Don't hold. Hold for whatever you got to do, but don't be like the people in 2017 that got in at 5,000 in Bitcoin and it went up to 19.5, and then they're like, "Hey, look at how great we are!" And they're telling their friends, they're like, "You were wrong. You see, it's not a fad, yeah." And they're like, "Yeah," and then it goes down to 13 in a day. And they're like, "Oh, but it's going to come back." Yeah. And then it does. It comes back up to 17. And like, "Yeah, I told you." And then back to 3. And they're still holding. Yeah. For those of you who were still holding Tesla or Apple after the split, and you're like, "What? I thought it was going to keep going up." Take profits. Now, of course, it's going up now, but most people sold out when it dropped out, which is what they want you to do. So how did I get on this? This is like high horse. Sorry about that.
No, I'm interested because I've been talking to Jonathan. So
yeah, Jonathan. I've been working with Jonathan. He. Well, I don't need to talk about Jonathan. You all know who he is, and he's not as up as I wish he'd be, as I wish he could have been. We happened to start working together in mid-September, and then it was October, November, and you're like, "Ooh, that's not pleasant." Yeah. But he's still up. He's green. Yeah. He's not red. And I don't think he'll mind me saying that there was somebody in his world that said, if you start trading options, you're going to lose your whole account in 2 months. And they're probably right, unless you know what you're doing. And unless you can be mechanical and not gamble.
No.
And not hold too long and take your profits and be mechanical. I'd be mechanical. 80% of losses happen because of emotional trading. 20% of it happened because there's nothing you can do. Like today, I was down today on a position. I was like, really? I'll hold it to next week because next week's supposed to be a green week. By the way, historically, next week is supposed to be green. Is it going to be green? I don't know. But we have an 80% chance of it being green. As long as the Electoral College does their thing, it'll be green. If it doesn't, it's all bets are off. Because then that will be a historic event that has never happened before. But historically, the next week, we should have 2 bullish days. Doesn't mean it has to, but historically, that's how it goes. So, we're hedging ourselves for up. And if you can hedge yourself for up and then down too, if you're doing options, you can also go make money on the way down. So anyway, it's a fun thing. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking, but I think it's kind of my new it's my new mission, is to get everybody away from their just over broke positions at their job, JOB, just over broke, and manage your expenses so that you can get some investment, learn how to do it, get good at it, make your 1% a day, and then train everybody else.
And how many hours a day do you do this? Do you do the actual trading?
Oh yeah.
Like people you're training trade how many hours a day?
Well, I don't know how many they do. Most of the people that I work with have jobs. Nobody's a full-time trader. What I teach takes, once you learn it, now the learning process, that's going to take time. But once you're at it and you're good at it, it's about an hour a day.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, trading crypto is different because it's 24 hours and never turns off. It's always going. So it's less time checked in throughout the day. Whereas when we do options, we check in at a certain period and then maybe check in over here. If you're day trading, then that is much more intense. You get up with the market and you trade until roughly 12 Eastern. And that's 2.5 hours or whatever it is, 3.5 hours of. But that's different. I don't train that. That's something I do to hopefully add, not subtract from the account balance on a day-to-day basis. But the goal is 1%. And you can start in as low as 500. Options, you really don't want to do less than 2,500. And managing your money, managing your how much you're spending on every trade it's the same in poker, it's the same in blackjack, the same in craps. We'll just say that number one thing to be doing is money management, risk management. Doesn't matter how you could have a 99% right situation where you've got a protocol where you're like, I win 99% of the time. But if you don't have money management, you will lose your account because something will happen and then you'll go in too big and you'll take a loss. I had a buddy, well, he's a buddy now. He is a client now, but the day, so he couldn't work with me when we started. I said, well, when can you work? It's about a month from now. I go, okay, well, why don't we just have a call now and I'll show you what I'm doing. And I just showed him. And for a month, he won and won and won and won and won and won and got cocky. And then went on a trade so big because he was bulletproof, he thought, and it went against him like bad. Now, I did the same trade and it went against me too, but I went in with my money management. So I only lost 5%. He lost his whole account. He got a margin call and $35,000 went out the tubes in an afternoon.
Oh,
that day was our first real session. So when I called and I said, how are you doing? He's like, oh man, I just lost $35,000. And I'm like, what?
Oh, Jesus.
So trade small, trade often, trade small, trade the same. Because if your system works, the numbers will work in your favor if you keep doing the same thing. If you get emotional, that's what they want. If you watch the news, remember it's news X -1. That's your bias.
Yeah, and I know Jonathan mentioned that he did a trade and he didn't listen to you and things went the wrong way.
He had a 100%. He had a 100% loss. I'm sorry to say. Now, here's the thing. He was technically correct I saw what he was doing, and I'm like, that makes sense on paper, but I'm not going to take that trade because that's more risk than the reward I think I'll have. And, you know, sadly, it didn't go in his favor. I think it might have gone in his favor some other day, but it didn't that day.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's emotional trading. If there would have been technicality involved, he wouldn't have taken it, and then he wouldn't have lost money.
Right.
Well, today, for those of you who are watching Disney, right, you saw what happened with Disney, went up almost 15% today, a historic high in Disney because of that amazing meeting. And you all should be excited about the Star Wars content that's coming. Yeah. But I had more than one person go, well, how come you didn't see that trade? How you know, people are up. Why didn't you tell us to get in? I'm like, first of all, I'm not telling you to do anything. Secondly, I'm taking my Series 65s next month, but not today. So secondly, we don't take every trade. There's nobody putting a gun to our head saying you have to trade. No, I go with what I know. Now, that doesn't mean there's other trades that are out there. It's like a filmmaker. They're like, well, that was a great horror script. Why didn't you take that, you sci-fi director? And it's like, that's not what I do. That's right. I could have made $1 million. I could have made it a hit. Yeah, I could have. It could have been me, but it wasn't. Good. I'm doing my money over here, or I'm doing my projects over here. You know, producers the same way. You know, like I produce sci-fi. I don't produce romantic comedies. Yeah, but this is it's not my thing. So you want to stick with what you know. And this is, I guess, kind of universal. The market teaches us how to do life because there's nobody looking over your shoulder when you trade and you hit the button. It's only you. And you can lie about what's happening or tell the truth about what's happening. You're either profitable or you're not. And how you trade indicates how you're doing life. Are you taking risks and getting rewards for the risks? Are you taking risks and just taking too much risk because you're a gambler? Are you never getting in? And then once you get in, you stay in too long? How does that show up in life? And most of the work that I do with folks that I work with is literally working on their internal stuff. Because I can teach you how to trade options in an hour. I can teach you how to trade crypto in a half an hour. But it's what you do with it then. And you can paper trade, and that's fine. You know, that's great. But when you put $10 or more on the line, we find out who you are. We find out what you're going to do. And look, it's not because I'm so good at it. It's just, I've made every mistake in the book. I've put a put trade on when it should have been a call trade just because I didn't realize I'd done it and made a mistake. And while the position was moving with me, where I thought it was going, I was losing money. I'm like, oh no. I mean, I've done it all. So I'm trying to help people not do that because it's just simple mechanical things. We get our head right, we get our heart right, and then we have a system that hopefully works for us 80% or more. And then we make money. And then eventually we pray, we hope the JOB can say, thank you so much. We're moving on. So.
Well, I'll definitely, I've been talking to Jonathan about it and just, you know, thinking about it. So I definitely want to spend some time talking to you about it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's of value, I'm happy to do a call where we just talk about it for anybody from this family who wants to just go, what's he doing? And I'll just show you the gist.
That's a great idea.
For an hour. And we can talk about crypto, which everybody should be talking about. And then we can talk about options, which has been around forever, and say, here's how this works. Here's how this works. Here's what you need to make this happen. Here's what you need to make that happen. And if it's a value, happy to do it. I can't do Fridays. This is hard for me. My wife's going,
oh yeah, this is just once a week, Axanar Confidential.
Why are you doing a Friday night right now? So, and she's right. So I appreciate her.
We'll do it another time.
Letting me come out and play with everybody. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis.
Yeah, Mrs. Lewis.
All right. Well, that's another conversation, but we're over our time. So we are going to get going. I want to say thanks, Mark, for coming out as always.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure having you on, and a pleasure having you as part of the Axanar team and is one of my best friends. So thank you. I'll definitely give you a buzz.
And he's muted once again. Dang it. Let's see if we can do the kind of, no. I can't believe this stupid. I don't know. What else is he going to say here? See if we can do a.
Well, I did not realize my camera was still on. Thank you, everyone, for coming out while Alec gets the tribbles out of his system.
There
There we go.
They went away for a short period of time. So, all right. Well, we're going to get going. Thanks for coming out. We will talk again. Thank you for everyone who's watching right now. We appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow night for Starfleet Tactical, Space Combat, and Star Trek and all things science fiction with Pat and Chris. And I will see you sometime next week. And Mark, I'll give you a buzz tomorrow. We can have a chat.
Super cool.
All right, dude.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone out there in TV land. We appreciate it. We will see you guys tomorrow. And please, as always, don't forget, wear your damn mask. Bye.